Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting, wondrous Propagandacast. And yes, indeed, is Samoski again. Sadly, I've not received any replays on other maps that turned out to be any better. Sandys, of course, keep sending in replays, keep sending in exciting ones. Do try to be aware of, the last 10 to 15 minutes aren't just, beating up some poor defenseless guys who can't really resist much more. That's not really exciting to watch nor comment on. Anyways, we are looking here at a 1 vs 1 on Samoski. Again, we shall be watching Mademan G74 fighting for Germany for the 15th Panzer Grenadier Division, going up against Radroofer, now playing a 1 vs 1 here for the Soviet Union. And the 10th Tank Corps. Grenadier start here for Mademan. Another Grenadier following up there. We are seeing here that it looks like Radroofer will be heading straight for the western fuel point. Nothing other than usual there. Again, the more easy path to take. Although at the same time, he could easily be moving up here and just take it there. You don't really need this connecting point to get to that point. It's just for these points over there. It's a little thing to keep in mind. And looks like Mademan is in fact also rushing towards that fuel point as well. Interesting. There's going to be a bit of an initial clash over here. But it's a fuel point. MP40s versus Mosenagants. Who shall win this fight? Who shall be the victor? Certainly doesn't look like that for the Pioneers since they caught out in the open. And there go, also looks like here he will be rushing for this fuel point as well. Another counter squad then going to come up and connect through that alleyway.
Pioneers ready for anything.
More Grenadiers being rushed in, and a third squad of Grenadiers out, and Mademan so far not resolved, relying in any ways on any heavy weapons.
How can we help?
Point secured there. Pioneers rushed off with heavy losses there. Combat Engineers barely suffering anything, though that won't be lasting long as the Grenadiers lead a second wave of attacks. And there we go. Vasily took it in the gut. Grenadiers going to flank from the other side. Meanwhile, Radroofer continues in the south to take away territory. And there we go, the combat is now in serious trouble. Radroofer needs to retreat. Get the hell out of there, comrades. Never mind. There we go. Boris making a run for it. Barely. More conscripts around there for Radroofer. Also noting here, assault support doctrine up already here for Mademan. And what, for that matter, Radroofer, he has access to guard motor, shock rifle, and guard rifle combined arms, are more or less the usual stuff there for most Soviet players. Point there being secured, troops advancing up there. Teching up, so 3 Grenadiers, no MGs, no mortars, no snipers there for Mademan. Conscripts moving ahead with some vicious thoughts in mind. Pioneers definitely won't be able to hold up much. Conscripts pushing up here in the centre. More Grenadiers are converging on the village. But looks like Radroofer might be able to get the initial advantage here. Overwhelming individual forces a bit too weak. Surrounding and destroying them. And there go one Pioneer squad. Rushed off, 4 squads of conscripts by the looks of it. Support weapon company up, rifle grenades flying through the air without a care and immediately ending the lives of several Russians. Nice use of garrisoning right there. Might want to actually move these conscripts to support as well, but apparently Radroofer thinks otherwise. Instead moving the wounded away, sending up some more healthy ones, and there you go, flanking from another angle. Good job, rifle grenade here, only blew up the corner of the house. Failed to make much more of an impression upon the stalwart defenders of the motherland. There you go, flanking up here on the German positions. Might have one tried to get on the other side of the wall here, thus actually getting cover themselves in a bit better position, while negating the one for the Germans. But there we go, just as suggested. And there we go, we are seeing here that Mademan is forced to retreat his Grenadiers in the face of such fierce Soviet resistance. Like the mechanized company up, and now getting an MG42. West Point here falling into the hands of Deutschland, and support weapon company are going up. Point there secured. Also, my apologies for the episode yesterday being so late up. YouTube rather decided it had to take 5 hours to upload. So yeah, my apologies. My sincerest apologies. Scout car going to follow up here for Mademan in his hunt for Bolsheviks. Rushing straight in here, going for the cut-off point. Boldly doing so.
We have a new scout car.
Well, he might want to consider actually leaving this to some conscripts instead of moving the combat units into the village and begin securing it with mines, perhaps some barbed wire as well. Instead, this is rather going to be the advantage of the Grenadiers, who will definitely beat the combat engineers rather handily. Yes, there we go, actually getting an officer. Wunderbar, one of the reasons that I went for this replay, we actually see an officer getting used. It's so rare when people actually choose a doctor and an officer and then actually use them. It's really astounding. In a less than positive manner.
The enemy is taking
But there we go,
our
15
territory.
Panzer Gunner Division being pushed back across the front. Might want to get some light machine guns here for the Grenadiers.
Scout car awaiting orders.
And there we go, the CIS-3 Divisional Field Gun arriving. Main anti-tank gunners. So it did have bigger anti-tank guns, though they were also a bit later in the war and were also not really something could move about by hand. So that was rather where there were some problems for the Soviets. I mean, it's around the 76 to 75mm guns here that really were the limit of what you can move around with men alone. Beyond that, you'd actually need tractors of some kind of vehicles to actually move around the anti-tank guns.
Enemy forces are securing our territory.
Bit of an awkward positioning right here, right in front of the church, but apparently allows us still to do some nasty damage. The conscripts are taking quite a beating. They were quite low on health. Light machine gun here also providing support from the town square. And Grenadiers fighting here with an officer. Scout car moving in. And it looks like something blew up. Oh, that's the field gun active firing, but apparently Yuri here hadn't thought it all through and just blasted his way through the house. But Yuri, there's an obstacle. Who cares, buddies? We've got guns. Oh, bad move there by Mademan. Rushed his scout car in too heavily. Took an anti-tank grenade, and there we go, one shot, and the crew actually dies. That's quite unfortunate. Field gun, though, perhaps made a mistake of its own. Moved a bit too close and is now in the process of getting riddled with bullets. And the scout covered crew goes down. And there go, counter-attack off, led by the officer moving in from the south here. Mines up. Nice, but I think it should have been more around here, but that's just my opinion. The Soviets certainly dominating the map otherwise, and looks like the Germans actually rather aggressively win and recruit the field gun. Interesting move right there.
Force the flanks!
Points continue to be secured. Grenadier officer might want to move up to support. And a bit of minor engagement up here. Mortar up as well for Radroofer. And looks like the field gun crew will end up quite dead. Despite the opposition by the MG42 firing from under the roof of the church. And there we go, field guns down. Quick recruit. Losses actually being inflicted here on Mr. Mademan. Oh, goodness gracious, one hell of a shot right there, collapsed the church. That was definitely a bit mean there. Cost Mademan his MG42. Though we do see the officer and with the Grenadier squad counter-attacking. A bit of concentrated fire going up would be nice. And we're seeing an open blitz arriving here for Mademan. And there we go. Field gun crew dead, executed. And there we go. Concentrated fire. Mortar rounds going in. Looks like it actually ends up killing more of their own.
Incoming!
Open blitz looks like it's heading for the fuel point. Generally, where you park it, you sort of get more resources out of it. So, for example, if you park it up fuel point, of course, you get only fuel, but a bit more than if you just secure a regular point. And, of course, same with the munitions point. So, clearly, I mean, Mademan is intending to get himself some more fuel. For what nefarious purposes can only, well, you don't exactly have to be a wizard to figure out where that's going to be going. It's going to be going into armor. The question is, what kind of armor? But shock rifle, actually, the doctrine of choice here for Radroofer. Shock troopers moving ahead, heavily equipped with PPH-41s. And moving ahead for the glory of the Soviet Union. And there go German infantry completely on the run. But the PPH-41 was definitely one of the best submachine guns in the war. Interestingly enough, so it actually worked on a cheaper variant, which also had a less drum-like magazine, the PPS-43, in fact. Fun little fact there. I do believe it's overall less effective than the PPH-41, in fact. But, again, fun fact, and the Germans also captured an awful lot of PPH-41s. In fact, so many they could begin converting them to use German ammunition. That many. And also the Germans themselves were quite fond of it, but there we go, Opel Blitz on the fuel point. Opel Blitz, one of many trucks actually utilized by the Germans. I believe the Opel Blitz was actually the attempt to sort of streamline the kind of trucks they actually had, because they ended up with a ridiculous amount of trucks which made logistics hell. Since they had French trucks, German trucks, Czechoslovakian trucks, Austrian trucks, and all requiring different parts. As it turned out, surprisingly enough, it was a bad idea.
Waiting for your command.
The points here being secured. But quite a bit of infantry here for Radroofer. That could definitely prove to be advantageous of him if he can leverage it correctly. And there we go, mortar firing away. Also noting, no upgrades besides anti-tank grenades for his infantry. No Molotovs. And there we go, officer and pioneers fighting over as the conscripts make a rush into the house. I think this is a bad idea, trying to sort of place themselves in a blocking position due to the low health they have. But there we go, field guns firing away in support as well. Pioneers forced to pull back, actually taking losses. I think Radroofer should support his conscripts. Otherwise, I don't think they'll live. And for that matter, he needs to support his support units. But there you go, shock troopers rushing ahead. Nice rifle grenade there from some grenadiers. Another one following up there. A quick, successive volley. And the shock troopers moving straight ahead, getting caught in a sheer stream of machine gun bullets, cutting them down. Looks like Radroofer had not expected this, and the losses are catastrophic. Apparently the last shock trooper pulls a Boris Gump. In the meanwhile, the Opel Blitz has been a bit spotted, but so far the conscripts were stopped in time, just barely, by the MG42 crew. And we are seeing a support armor corps here for Mademan. Tanks are likely on the way. Not so for Radroofer, who's actually getting himself a second team of shock troopers, actually getting an awful lot of infantry here. An awful lot. Looks like he's resorting to more brutal tactics in an attempt to overwhelm the German troops holed up within the village.
Shock troops awaiting deployment.
He's also got a ton of munitions, so right now I would definitely suggest him getting some mines up. Either tripwire flare mines, which actually can do a nice bit of work, or something else. Recruiting that mortar would also be a nice and dandy idea. In fact, we're seeing here that Mademan's laying down mines. In fact, S-mines, the S-minen. Sprengminen, which basically means jumping mine. The Germans never were the ones for false advertising when it came to their mines.
What do you want?
And shock troops here caught. They could get off a smoke grenade, get their way past, or throw a grenade. Nope. Mademan actually seemed to have lost his nerve and got the MD crew out and open. In fact, climbed up right here. One grenade. Oh! Poor decision here by Mademan. He lost his nerve. You should be careful about that. And there we go. One grenade and dead. And then Boris mortars his own men. Good job, Boris. I'm sure you'd make the NKVD proud. Seriously laying down one hell of a minefield up here. Mademan has absolutely no intention of letting anyone getting close to that point.
We have found the enemy!
Time for the mid-game analysis. Current situation is the Soviets had, a nice chunk of the map, and now they are being pushed back and are trying to push back in return. So there's a bit of, pushing here and there. At the same time, they've got a ton of infantry, but they are getting thrown a bit back here by the Germans with their officer, with their light machine guns and other fun things. So he should rather start considering perhaps moving towards some armor. He could, of course, go for the KV-8, but I think that might not work out well. I think he should rather aim for the IS-2 heavy tank and go for something a bit big. In the meantime, he should get himself another field gun or two, and then try to play away with the Germans as well. He should also make some greater efforts to actually work over here. In fact, there's a nice spot here where some shock troopers, for example, with the conscripts following up, could do a lot of harm. And mine the living snot out of the village. I mean, a lot of mines. Mine the roads, mine the smaller approaches, and just get it done with. That is certainly something I would recommend for Radroofer to do. For Mr. Mademan, it's about keeping up the tempo. He's got a flak panzer now. Perhaps a Stug or two would also prove advantageous, or perhaps just a Panzer IV. But I prefer the Stugs. No secret there. He's got a nice chunk of infantry. I mean, he's got 3 squads of grenadiers, and he's got himself some officers as well. So actually looks like he might have lost one. So nope, never mind. But anyways, he's got a nice chunk of infantry here, so that's not really a concern of his. And otherwise, you should just work on supporting it either with armor, or perhaps some packs or mortars could also prove nice and dandy. And of course, he could also try and saving up for a Tiger. He could also attempt, getting himself a second orbital blitz and begin securing himself extra munitions for, say, usage for fragmentation bombing runs and strafing runs. Otherwise, you're nice there. Oh, definitely an idea here for Mr. Radroofer. Get that MG42, turn it on those fascist bastards. So, back to the fight. They're going to get caught between 2 shock trooper squads. That's definitely bad news. And there we go. Grenadier squad wiped out completely. Shock troopers advancing up. And Orbital Blitz in a bit of trouble. Not exactly bulletproof. And I'm sure the driver regrets that. And good night. But officer leading a small assault into the south, though he soon finding himself rather surrounded. A nice use of contrary fire here could have proved to be advantageous. Veterans on for the officer. Point blank with a light machine gun, not really a good idea there. Radroofer. That's rather to the advantage of the Germany, particularly if he begins using concentrated fire, which thankfully does seem to do now. Orbital Blitz counter... Oh, not Orbital Blitz, Ostwind counterattacks. Though, actually, I do believe occasionally they would mount guns on the Orbital Blitz and use it, like, for example, an anti-aircraft platform. So, little fun fact there, but there we go. The KV-8 has arrived. I do think, again, he should have utilized instead an IS-2. Since you really can't expect, to only fight against infantry for much longer. In that sense, the IS-2 would definitely be a better choice overall. The Sunyol's a bit more expensive, but he clearly had the fuel, he just needs the manpower. And the command punch, but there we go instead. KV-8, Soviet flamethrower tank. Oh, well, one of them, the later variant, was the T-34, which also had managed to get a flamethrower mounted on it. Panzerkampfwagen on the field.
The new men have arrived.
And I can't imagine the Opel Blitz driver is feeling completely confident in this. Guys, what happened to the previous driver? He smoked in the truck. Yeah, smoking near fuel points. A very dumb idea. Don't worry, not anything to do with Soviet attackers. Just ignore all the Soviet corpses around the Opel Blitz. And there we go, anti-tank grenade lighting the engine of fire. Panzer IV following up. Looks like he switched guns here. The 45mm gun. Field gun needs to move up quickly. KV-8 barging through the hedgerows, and there we go, firing its tiny 45mm gun. Connecting also the Panzer IV. Field gun there we go, getting off a nice hit. Veterans one as well.
More of our troops have been lost.
And there you go, Panzer IV, the next victim. Panzer IV having quite a bit of trouble here dealing with the frontal armor of the KV-8. Oh dear, that Panzer IV could go down, and there we go. KV-8 delivers the killing blow. Quite unfortunate, and there we go, switching over to the flamethrower. And burning the fascist scum. And there we go, entire squad almost completely murdered.
Yes.
Well, that's only turned a bit ugly there for Mademan. The KV-8's only proved to be a bit of a foil. But he's also taken a serious amount of infantry losses by now, which is definitely hurting him. And he's going to be rather vulnerable to say anything heavier than a Panzer IV.
It is ours.
But can Radroofer break out of this?
You need heavy engineers ready for assignment. Heavy tanks standing by.
We have secured the area.
Engineers standing by.
Ready.
You have orders.
A bit of quiet. German counterattack in progress. Though lightly supported, to say it mildly.
Enemy infantry is engaging us.
And there we go, charging straight into several shock trooper squads. A large quantity of submachine gun fire, and we are seeing the KV-8 moving in. That's definitely going to turn into one hell of a barbecue. And there we go. Burning away.
Right to the last man.
Grenades going off as well. Heavy losses to the Grenadiers. Officer pops up with a concentrated fire squad. Dead. Oh, this is not looking good at all. 2 Grenadier teams utterly murdered. And we do see a pack is actually up, but it's nowhere near. Oh dear. That definitely was a very bad engagement for Mr. Mademan. Took a serious toll on him. Also, though, leading the counter-attack over here, combat engineers getting blasted with a nice dosage of flak rounds.
Pioneers ready for anything.
And looks like Mr. Mademan is getting close to his target of a Tiger tank, if that is his target, that is. Field gun here flanked. KV-8 needs to support.
Pioneer squad.
Oh, mine went off! Or was it perhaps a mortar round?
They are losing the sector.
Flak, or pack, or field gun crew anyways, went down. Flak now going to get hunted down here by the KV-8 if he can succeed in doing so. Securing most of the map on the right hand side.
I think we're fucked. Send a heavy panzer.
And there we go, blitzkrieging away to safety. Pack covering the escape
You
route.
need something built or blown up?
And absolutely no Soviets moving towards here after all that effort putting into the minefield. What a shame. And a Grenadier squad with 2 light machine guns. That's definitely going to be a painful experience for anyone subjected to it.
They're dropping shells on our heads!
Bit of artillery. They're mostly mortar.
Osprey loaded and ready.
And the shock troopers are completely pulling back there. Oh dear, mortar. A bit too close to things. Dead.
Secure.
And the officer took a bit of a beating there. Though he's getting awfully close to getting veterancy to himself, and thus becoming a lot harder to deal with for the Soviets. But we can see that Mademan has suffered some rather high infantry losses. He's going to need something to take care of that. Then again, he's clearly saving up now resources for the Tiger. He's got so much fuel, so much manpower. I mean, there's no other conclusion to make.
How can we help? I await your orders, Commandant.
And if that happens, I mean, Radroofer will be in a lot of trouble because he's rather unprepared for the Tiger. He's not got the field guns or anything else really necessary to hold it back.
So much blood!
Panzerfaust, oh, actually managed to penetrate. And there we go. In fact, drops a light machine gun, and the officer actually calling in some artillery? No, smoke actually to cover the retreat. A nice bold idea. Rare to see smoke actually utilised.
We
It's wonderful when it happens, and Tiger in response from Mademan to support the 15th Panzer Grenadiers on the front line. And the mechanized armor company finally going up. Looks like he decided to get something more, well, there to help deal with armor. Would be an idea to grab the light machine gun, Mr. Radroofer. Nehmen Sie die leichtes Maschinengewehr.
Grenadiers, we have our reinforcements.
Light howitzer is ready for another salvo. Ostwind, load. Enemy forces are securing our territory. The enemy has driven a wedge
Okay,
in
the
our
KV-8
lines.
still not recruiting that MG-42. I'm deeply surprised that it's not happened. Neither the German taking it back or the Soviets utilizing. That's definitely anomalous. Same with the light machine gun there. I would have figured anyone would actually want to grab those, but apparently not. Austin blitzkrieging ahead, straight into the line of fire with the field gun. Perhaps not the best of blitzkrieg maneuvers.
We are losing a sector. The adversary has slipped to 100 points.
And there we go, assault initiated, pack supporting. Infantry there, and the Tiger moving up as well. And there we go, concentrated fire. Shock troopers taking an considerable beating. Shock troopers almost wiped out. There we go, in fact the Tiger got the kill. Ostwind going nuts up north. Against the conscript station there. Things rather look to be falling apart here. Conscripts getting wiped out. Looks like he might get the Ostwind and S-35 rhyming, but rather looks a bit too late. And Ostwind down. But at the same time, infantry appears right behind the field gun and will be able to clear it out. And of course, we've got the Tiger moving in and the Pack 40. And there we go, field gun crew executed on the spot. No mercy. And there we go. Serious trouble for Radroofer's KV-8. Trying its best to deal here with the enemy, but simply getting shot to bits and pieces. And the S-35 rushing in, but can't quite actually get to the Tiger, not without exposing itself.
Pioneers reporting objective captured.
And there we go. So the artillery going in as well. And S-35 down. So the artillery on the Pack crew, burning it away.
Are securing our territory. The enemy has destroyed an anti-tank gun. The territory is out of contact.
More mines going up there, interestingly enough.
Taste defeat. They only have 10 points remaining. The enemy is taking our territory.
And there we go, game over. A loss for the Soviet Union. A nice little fight, but obviously not without its problems. I think in part, you know, Radroofer could have stood to be a lot more aggressive with his mining. In fact, he was very passive right around the cutoff, which I think, you know, he could have done a lot more with, you know, mining the roads here. And again, mining the entrances to the village here on the right-hand side. I think that would have done a lot more for Radroofer. I also think the KV-8 was a mistake. I think, again, he should have gone for the IS-2. That would definitely have had him at a much stronger point. I also think having 2 shock trooper squads and 4 conscript squads was too much. I think he should have either gone for 3 squads of conscripts, then 2 shock troopers, or 1 shock trooper unit, and then 4 conscripts. Otherwise, I mean, that was a bit too much, and it probably could have utilized the resources on either something more here, like a Maxim, which could have been nice, another field gun, or perhaps some caches here, for example, either munitions or fuel to work then towards either more usages of his doctrine, either through, you know, abilities or through armor. Again, there are a few things lacking then. Of course, you could also go in for the mechanized armor company much sooner. I mean, initially in was perhaps fighting so much armor, for example, a single issue 5 them some issue 6s to help deal with the infantry, would, also worked wonders. From Mademan, we saw a nice aggressive play. We saw some good usage of his doctrine. He used a large part of it. Made good use of the officer. Infantry sometimes, went a bit awry, and he could also perhaps have stood to use his armor a bit better. Sometimes it's a bit too aggressive, a bit too reckless, which rather suffered him some unnecessary losses like that 1st Panzer IV, though he did make good uses of the Ostwind. Some Panzer gunners could have also seen usage, but there you go. Overall, well played. Hope you enjoyed this short little match. If you did, want to subscribe, tell your friends. If you did, well, why not replay your own? Provide some feedback in the comments. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers.